Welcome to another video, and today we're going to be talking about my history shooting on Super 8. So as many of you might know, I have been experimenting with the new Ektachrome stock and Super 8 sound. We've had some mixed results with the sound stuff, but with the new Ektachrome stock, I've been really rejuvenated with Super 8 again. And so with our new scanner we just got, we can now scan Super 8 film and with the wet gate process, kind of get rid of the dirt and make it look really good. So I've been scanning all my old movies and it's been so much fun to go through all this old material. And I thought it would be kind of fun to kind of do a breakdown historical wise about me shooting on Super 8 and about kind of the way I feel about Super 8 today, having just recently shot it again. And I thought it would be a lot of fun. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with kind of what we have going on here. What you see in front of you is my entire life of shooting Super 8 personally. So we have single 50 footers and we have a bunch of different cans here with a bunch of different films that I shot over the years. I started shooting Super 8 when I was 9 years old. Originally, I thought it was 7, but I guess it's actually either 8 or 9 in that range.
Hello and welcome to Tyler's first sound motion picture.
My dad and I were at a yard sale, and we got a Sears Super 8 camera. That was my first kind of camera. And I shot a roll of film. It's in the stack right here. That was my first roll of film. And then my second roll of film was a trip that we did to Edaville Railroad, which was a place we used to hang out in the summers. And that was my second roll of film. And in that, you can see me as a kid. And it's so cool to see this old footage of me as a kid, kind of enjoying myself, riding the train and my family trying to, have me come home. And it's a great piece of film because it looks good and you can see that it's Kodachrome and it has this beautiful color space and it's such a neat piece of film. And that was my second roll of film ever shot. And over the years, I made many kind of compilations of my life as a kid. And they don't really star me. They're more about my family, what was going on, Thanksgivings and Christmases and family get-togethers. And so that's kind of where I focus my attention when shooting, because reality is that, I couldn't really do narrative stuff. I just didn't have the patience for it when I was a kid, and getting friends together was difficult because I didn't have a lot of friends when I was a kid. So I did mostly this documentary style stuff. And by shooting with a Super 8 camera, I only had a little less than 3 minutes worth of film per magazine, and each cartridge was expensive. So as a consequence, I had to be very careful about how I shot.
This is Father's Day, and we're riding on the Blue Mountain and Reading Railroad. It's June 17th, 1990, and it's 2:15 p.m.
Shooting Super 8 taught me a lot about how to be very cautious and pick your takes right and stuff like that. That was the real big learning curve I had, was just learning to find what you want to shoot and to get it and to not waste any film. You know, my mom, you would hear her coughing in the background when I would run the camera for too long because she was trying to tell me to shut the camera off because it costs money. And I think that helped me as an adult, you know. A lot of kids grew up with cameras and they could just run them forever. And I didn't have that problem. I had the opposite problem where I couldn't run it at all. And so, yeah, it's tricky. It's very, very tricky. There's a lot of things about Super 8 that I've learned over the years, and I'm going to try to go through some of those things with you guys, because the reality is that this whole thing is another world from the world that I live in today, where we shoot on film and we see it digitized and then we never go back to our film. This is a world where the only way you can watch this stuff is really on film. This is the last thing I shot on Super 8. The 40 speed, which is what we mostly shot with outdoors especially, was kind of the go-to, right? This was the go-to stock. We would shoot this anytime we were outdoors, and it worked the best. You know, it was the best stock. It had the lowest amount of grain, and you could even shoot it in kind of like twilight and stuff like that, especially with the Elmo, because the Elmo has a 1.6 lens, so it's pretty good. So yeah, that was my main two, and then when we shoot indoors or nighttime, we would shoot with the good old Ektachrome 160, and the Ektachrome 160. This box is so familiar to me. I've shot more with this stock than the Kodachrome for sure, and the reason why I like the 160 is because I could shoot indoors with it, and so for me, I wanted to do like little setups with lights and stuff like that indoors. And I wanted to shoot family events. So my grandma gave me like her old movie lights from when they were shot 8mm, which is 25 ISO. And that was like, you know, tons of huge lights, even more bright than this. You know, you'd go to a family get together and the 1K spotlight's out to be able to shoot, you know, films. Well, I didn't need that with Super 8 160. With 160, I could go indoors and I could have a little bit of light, and I'd be good. In fact, when you look at some of these movies, you can see where I pushed it. You know, some of the night stuff, Evil Railroad at night, you know, that was tough because I didn't have any lights. We didn't have enough power. You know, most of these movie lights you plug into the wall. I had no power for running lights outdoors by myself for a lot longer in time. And so, you know, we had to just shoot where there was light, you know? But that's nighttime. That's not like, you know, dusk or anything. That is complete pitch black night, and there's still an image there, which is quite amazing. You know, you wouldn't think 160 ISO could do that, but remember, you know, films like Taxi Driver were filmed on a very similar ISO range. So, you know, you can get away with it if you need to get away with it. Some of the indoor stuff at school was cool because you have these concerts with theater lighting with Ektachrome 160. I remember my dad trying to get a close-up of me on stage playing my trumpet, and he never really could. It was always kind of out of focus, but we have some footage. And then some of the concerts were in, you know, gyms with big lights coming in, so it was easier to see what was going on. You know, that was easy. But to be honest with you, the majority of my films that were Ektachrome were kind of the better for indoor lights anyway. You know, that was the best way to do it. And I really liked the Ektachrome stock a lot more than the Kodachrome because of that more sensitivity. And to me, as a kid, the slight color difference of Kodachrome, it has more poppy reds and stuff like that. I didn't care, you know. I was just out shooting film and having fun. The stock I used was more, you know, inconvenience or a convenience factor. It wasn't about anything else. And again, we bought a lot of film in bulk. We would go places and we would buy 3 or 4 rolls of film at a time because you never know what you were going to shoot. And so we wouldn't buy film and shoot something. We would buy it, leave it in the freezer, and then have it ready to go. The whole experience of shooting on Super 8 was always interesting. It was more of a camcorder to me than it was a film camera, right? So like this doesn't function like a commercial camera at all. This functions like a camcorder. You turn it on, you take the lens cap off, you're shooting your movie. That's not the way commercial cameras work at all. And so there is there is some validity to this format. After our successful Ektachrome test in the park, I decided to take my brand new Super 8 camera that I got from Japan and 12 rolls of film to our cross-country trip in 2021, and unfortunately, the camera didn't work properly. It was my own darn fault. When I rebuilt the camera, I messed up one of the switches that determines the take-up speed, and the take-up speed was set up for sound film, which runs way faster than it does for non-sound film. And so all the film was jittery, which means I couldn't project it. So the whole point of shooting Ektachrome was worthless. However, what we got really surprised me because the quality was there. Outside of the built-in light meter not working very well, I thought that we could actually make something. So in 2022, we went back and did another trip to the same railroad, but with 50D, and I ran the meter manually. We haven't checked the footage yet, but we're going to do an episode all about that very soon. I was just so enthralled by it. I'm so used to working with motion picture film and seeing it on my color grading monitor upstairs. It's different when you're watching it on a projector. When you get the film back from the lab and it's a positive and you're projecting on your projector, it's a whole different experience. It's the way it has been done for a long time, and it's only been in the last 20 years or so that we've moved into this kind of removed world where the camera and the format the camera shoots is not the way you work with it anymore. And there's some delight to be had with these old formats. I see it, with modern stock. Obviously, I'm not going to go shoot a big movie with old Ektachrome or old Kodachrome and expect to get any results. But with the modern stocks, it's really nice. And so I look back on the stuff that I've talked about when it comes to Super 8, and I've just downed the format so much. But I get the validity of it a little more. I get it. And I understand that people who shoot sometimes just want to shoot for fun and like this kind of home movie way of shooting with like a camcorder style and, splicing the film themselves and making these reels of movie film. And it makes me sad that sound film doesn't exist anymore, because sound film was so great because it really made a film camera a camcorder. There's no difference all of a sudden. A camcorder shoots a videotape and you project it on your TV set in a VCR. So the difference is that, without sound, you don't have sound, and with sound, you have sound, just like a camcorder. So in the end, a Super 8 sound camera really is just a camcorder. It's just a different way of doing it. And so it's sad that Kodak doesn't have Super 8 sound film anymore, because it would be super cool to have current Ektachrome striped with Super 8 sound magnetic stripe, even if it's just one side, just so that we can use some of these old cameras and bring back some of that feeling. I think that Kodak would sell stock if they did that, because there's so many Super 8 sound cameras out there. In fact, some of the later cameras are almost all Super 8 sound. So it would be so cool if Kodak could bring the sound stock back, even if it's a limited run, even if it's just a, it's just kind of a tester type thing. I know it's difficult for them to do that, but it would be so cool. They probably don't even have the machine that makes the striping anymore, let alone the glue situation. That was the reason why they got rid of the format in the first place. And, Super 8 sound was declining when they got rid of it, and that makes sense because video cameras are taking off, so of course it's declining in sales. But Super 8 in general is declining in sales as well, so I don't know. I have such a mixed feeling on it because, again, it was just so much fun shooting this footage on Ektachrome and projecting it and just getting this feeling back of like, wow, I missed this a lot, And I've done it with 16, right? I've spliced movies together on 16, but 16 is different. 16 camera is so much bigger, and you got to manually adjust the stop, and the focus is more challenging, and it's a whole different thing. With the Super 8, just kind of go out and shoot, right? So yeah, I guess this kind of wraps up this video. It's been rambling and ranting. I'm hungry. It happens. And it's been a lot of fun to share my experiences with shooting on Super 8 with you guys, because I hope that in the future, more people can pick up cameras and just have some fun, because that's the whole point of it, right? Don't forget to like this if you liked it. And, if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you next time.